Hey folks, Dan Gunther here, bringing you my review of the first episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. So The Mandalorian has returned for Season 2 on Disney Plus streaming service, and it feels very familiar to a lot of what we got in Season 1. Now, I very much enjoyed Season 1. I thought it was a great show. Baby Yoda, of course, is really cute, and the Mandalorian's a really cool character, and the secondary characters were also fascinating enough to really keep my interest. Where we dive into the story in Season 2, and be warned, there are spoilers in this video, so watch with caution. We have the Mandalorian returning to Tatooine after getting a tip that there's a Mandalorian scene there. You see, he's searching for more Mandalorians so he can fulfill his task of apparently finding out where the baby Yoda, or the child, is originally from, and returning him to his people. So this is the first thing that kind of made me go, I don't know, is when the Mandalorian has to return to Tatooine because, like I said, I generally enjoyed the first season. My least favorite episode was the Gunslinger, the original trip to Tatooine, which, that episode really ended up being, to me, with the exception of some revelations at the end and all that stuff, but to me really felt like a whole series of, hey, look at this, remember this from the original trilogy that you love, remember this bar, this seat, etc., etc., etc. A lot of member berries, if you know the South Park reference there. And, that to a certain extent can be good. I like references, I like callbacks, I like rewards for people who stick with a franchise and know a lot about it. But that episode to me felt like just a bit too much in that area. This episode is a little bit of the same. We're back on Tatooine and we see all the familiar things like Tusken Raiders and callbacks to the Krayt Dragon, although I do have to say it was really cool to see that. Visually, this episode is gorgeous. We, of course, have the Anakin Skywalker's pod racer engine as the bike that the titular Marshal uses. Whether or not it's actually Anakin Skywalker's pod or not, I see there's some debate online. Suffice it to say, it was put there to make people remember that and to call back to that. So, there's a little bit too much of that, I think. It gets a little tiresome. It does pull me out of the show every so often. Like I said, I like callbacks, but it does go over the top sometimes. However, there are a lot of things this episode really does right. Like I said, visually, it's absolutely gorgeous. I think the cinematography on this show is terrific, and nice little touches like when the Krayt Dragon makes its appearance, the aspect ratio grows to kind of accommodate it, and then shrinks back only at the end after it's been killed, and we're done with that. Fun, interesting, visually very cool. The Western feel of it, of course, they're relying on a lot of Western tropes and that sort of thing, but for the most part, that works. This show has really established itself in that niche, in that genre, with The Mandalorian as a character for Season 1. I do enjoy the fact that they're doing more episodic type adventures, with each episode seeming to be kind of a contained storyline. This is something that modern television has tended to get away from, and I think there's still definitely a place for that. Where I worry is that they go too far into this and don't advance the main storylines enough, or just kind of have them tacked on the end of episodes as little pieces that kind of advance the story. For example, in this episode, much ado has been made about Tamura Morrison's appearance, presumably as Boba Fett, at the end of the episode, and that's very cool. I think that might be my favorite part of the episode, but again, it's not central to the narrative. It's very much set apart from it. So, we get a story of the Mandalorian bringing the townspeople and the natives together to fight a common foe and all this stuff. Feels very cliched, feels a bit tropey, but again, it fits in this world, so I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Timothy Olyphant, I think, has to be a high point of this episode. He fits in really well in this universe and in this particular show. Of course, I immediately recognized the armor he was wearing as that of Boba Fett from the original trilogy. And I thought that was really fun, really interesting. I wasn't necessarily expecting to see Boba Fett at the end of the episode, but that was, of course, a great surprise. So again, I like how the episode looks. I think it's beautiful. It feels to me a little bit like treading water, though. Again, with this episodic format, we get these kind of adventures of the week, but I want a little bit more progression in the overall story. Again, there's only 8 episodes to get this story done, so I feel like, and this is just based on this one episode, but it feels like they're kind of doing similar to what they did in the first season, where we get, individual adventures throughout most of the episodes, and then right at the end it just kind of snowballs and goes into the big overall story. And I want to know, where is Moff Gideon and his dark saber and all of that, and I'm sure we'll get answers to those questions. I'm probably just being a little impatient. But again, with only 8 episodes, I feel like structuring a grand story with all of these elements might be a better choice than individual episodic adventures with just all of it kind of coming to a head at the end. But then again, I'm not a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Disney. They know how to make money. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. Now, I'm not as big a Star Wars fan as I am Star Trek fan, but I do have friends who are able to point out all the little Easter eggs and bits like that. So, things like the Krayt Dragon Pearl I had to learn from someone else, and all this kind of stuff. But I do like that they're putting those things in there for the hardcore fans. Again, that's the sort of thing that, like I said, rewards longtime viewers and loyal fans of a property. It can get a bit too much when the really obvious in your face things kind of start overwhelming the story. Like, again, the Anakin Skywalker pod just looked ridiculous. It's kind of cool, but again, it seems to be another like, ooh, look at this, hey, remember this kind of thing. Overall, I'm obviously going to stick with The Mandalorian. I really enjoy the show. If nothing else, it's a half an hour to an hour of really entertaining story, really fun visuals. And I'm along for the ride for all of the cute Baby Yoda memes and all of that stuff. So I guess it gets a bit of a meh for me, but at the same time, I'm going to keep watching, and it's interesting and fun. I like what they're doing with the genre. And I think it's some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in a long time. So I guess do with that what you will. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. What did you think of Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian, The Marshal? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much to the Patreon supporters for your help in bringing these episodes to you. I really do appreciate it. Let me know also in the comments, do you want to keep seeing the Mandalorian reviews? I know their last season anyway, they weren't all that well watched. I actually never did get around to even reviewing the final episode of the season, which is really funny. I was just looking through my reviews now and realized I hadn't gotten to it, but I guess nobody really noticed. Nobody got in touch with me, so I don't know what that says. But anyway, I really look forward to the rest of the season, and I hope you enjoy it as well and catch my reviews. Again, apologies to all the hardcore Star Wars fans out there. I'm a pretty big fan, but not as big as Star Trek, so forgive anything I got wrong. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, as always, this is the way.